Hello. Can you hear me? I guess I should be on. Let's see. Let's make sure there's not anything too weird on the TV. No, no, no. Nothing too weird. Whatever could you mean? I have sort of moved locations to an actual desk, but like I need an actual computer desk. This shit is no bueno. Anyway, this fucking fan is blowing right on me, and it's freezing cold. I don't have my Kanye pajamas on, so I'm kind of like freezing to death. So I don't really have anything new to say. I just kind of hit a slump. Figured I'd get on to waste some time and say hello to the imaginary people that live inside my computer. Oh, actually. Anyway, oh, I got a lava lamp. A lava lamp. Nothing says mediocrity like a lava lamp. You ever just want to? I didn't graduate high school or college. Badge of honor is a fucking lava lamp. So I got a whole bunch of them. I got a whole bunch of them, really, yeah. And I got one lava lamp. It doesn't even work. So what does that tell you? This is I have not shoved this up my butt before, but and then I'm not going to now either. But you know what I mean? Those things are hyper dangerous. You know, I can't imagine the first person that thought that that'd be a good idea. Uh, yeah, I guess it was the '70s, probably, more than likely. Have you ever seen those like those old timey photographs they have of like playgrounds in like the '30s and '40s that look like something that like in a concentration camp torture device kind of thing? And the monkey bars are like 100 feet in the air. You're like, how the fuck did parents like? And not to mention, it's like 9 out of 10 doctors recommend Flintstone cigarettes to kids, right? You're like, they really just didn't give a shit then, did they? But if anyone who's ever seen the shit, am I not centered? Anyway, whatever. Booming the shot, right? Has anyone ever seen the old footage of it or the old picture of it? Was the playground from like the 30s or 40s or maybe even older than that or newer than that or whatever? But the thing looked like a fucking. It looked like it's like they wouldn't. In the military today, they would say that's not acceptable, right? This was like a little kid's playground. Like that's too dangerous, right? Even for the military, right? This is kind of a new positioning kind of thing, so uh, it probably isn't going to make me any better at World of Warcraft. Oh shit. Why is our internet? We should get more than that. Internet speed, I guess it's lagging or whatever. Hopefully not. Said one rogue go mine. We got someone there capping the farm. A couple guys going to lumber mill. Looks like everybody went lumber mill. That guy's. Looks like real fucking shit now. Shit. Fuck. Global cooldown and ice block. And no one stayed at farm. I guess I could play music or something. I'm quite literally I'm 5 feet from where I normally at. Oh shit. No one got mine. Doesn't look like they're gonna get lumber mill. And everybody decided to guard farm. Okay. Guard farm then. I'm gonna guard farm, guys. Did somebody say farm guard? I'm gonna guard farm, guys. Great. Why? Why even try? Right? And I figured it'd be better for my posture and shit than like I just don't have like a setup, right? Eventually I'll have like a real deal, like a desktop computer and like a spot, like a designated spot inside my own home. If I should be so fortunate. Are you asking for someone else's permission for a spot inside your own home? You live by yourself. Yeah, sure. Sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when I get my own spot, you're waiting for a permission slip in the mail, right? If you've dealt with the government as much as I have, yeah, I mean, you almost feel that way, don't you? It's like, wait, should I go get a permission slip from the governor to, can I play computer upstairs, right? Do you guys need to come in? Fucking people, dude. They never stop, do they? I don't want my carbon footprint to be too excessive for anybody's, I don't want to interfere with all your private jets flying around and all that shit. Or whatever the case may be. Yeah, but once I get a spot in my own home, once the paperwork goes through and the lawyers finalize it, the series of lawyers required for that sort of thing, to get that sort of permission from the government, right? The series of paperwork and the lawyers and all the hands the paperwork has to pass through and the days and months and hours it takes, of my life, not theirs, obviously, all of which I have to pay for. But when that process gets finalized, I should be able to buy a computer desk and like a desktop computer and do this in like a more significant place inside my own home. But still, we're being hopeful here. It's been an arduous process so far. But if we get to that point, I'll be sure to let you guys know. You should be able to tell because I'll be in a different location, right? I'll have a better camera. I don't really know why I started that tirade just now. At a point I was trying to drive home and then it kind of dribbled off into my own tangent for a moment. Come on now, go ahead and spin around in fucking circles and go berserk and make it impossible to do anything. Oh my god. What the fuck? What the fuck? Anyway. It's not, I don't know if it's concerning to you guys. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be, obviously. I just have an odd sense of humor. But I'm watching these like YouTube videos and stuff. And the way these people act, they're like, the shit they do is obviously terrible, but the way they behave before they do it is just, I'm like, God, dude, try not to sound like those people. That's all, right? Like, you do not want to look like those people. And as much as I realized, like, I just kind of ramble to myself and all that stuff, and obviously there's absolutely no concern whatsoever. it's just funny to see like I hate to say like just a small reflection of your own self in these people, and you're like you don't want to sympathize with them, you don't want to humanize them, but you can't help but be like, I have those days too. Obviously not the real terrible days, but the things that precede it. They're like, yeah, I get frustrated about shit too, like anybody else. But more or less, I say I do it from like an entertainment. The guy saying is making sense, right? You're like, oh yeah, yeah, and then he gets on a tangent about something totally absurd, right? You're like, yeah, he has his moments. I guess everybody does. Like I said, I have those days too, except for like the fucking really awful, terrible shit. But when the guy is like ranting and raving, one of these videos I seen, about whatever conspiracy theories or whatever, I'm like, yeah, I guess I can kind of see eye to eye with him on that, right? So sometimes I find myself going, oh, God, dude, I hope I see these people on YouTube. I'm like, holy shit, man, I really hope I don't look like that. Hope people don't see me that way, right? But like in the name of just not censoring myself for the sake of what other people might perceive or see, I'm like, yeah, well, fuck it then, never mind, right? It's like at the end of the day, the media, including YouTube and people that things that go viral, have a tendency to sensationalize things that don't necessarily need to be sensationalized, right? So it's like, really, is it that behavior that's concerning, or their whatever their behavior that is concerning, right? It's like more often than not, there are people that behave even worse than these people that do really terrible things, and you're like, well, there is some correlation, but there's no real like, it's not definitive, it's not the end all be all for the people that I would say, and for me specifically, it's just I have an odd sense of humor. Like in no way, shape, or form do I go around doing some of the ignorant shit that I've seen these people here this last week on YouTube do. Like this is like, some of the shit is so grim and terrible. I can't imagine, dude. I'm like, and you mean to tell me at some point in time somebody thought I was the problem? I'm like, good God, really? Like, if you even could just imagine what some of the shit I watched on YouTube this week, it's pretty fucking terrible. I'm like, you mean to tell me I'm the problem? Bullshit, right? Yeah, I know better. You're not convincing me of that even for a second. And I normally don't watch this kind of stuff either, but I've been kind of just, I didn't really find anything spooky to watch for Halloween. And it's Christmas time, and they're kind of one and the same for me. So I figured catch up on the spooky stuff on around Christmas, right? I'm not the first person to do that. What's his name? James and the Giant Peach, Nightmare Before Christmas, Tim Burton, yeah. He made a living off combining kind of the two, right? So I figured, I'm not really breaking the mold here with this idea, is it? Or am I, rather? But, right. Oh, there we go. Our connection's picked up now. Goody. Yeah, but it's like, it's one of those things. It's like, if they were to examine, and I mean this from like a completely just take my hands off the steering wheel, step away from it, step outside the box, and look at it from another perspective kind of thing. It's like, anytime anyone does anything like ridiculous, you know what I mean, or the society doesn't approve of, they always go through like their social media profiles, they go through their internet search history, and they find out all their quirks and weird behaviors and habits or whatever. You're kind of like, well, these things only come to light after something happens. So it's kind of like, oh, of course they had a furry fetish or whatever, You're like, well, how many people have a furry fetish that don't do something stupid, right? You see these, just in the media and stuff here recently, the theme of like transgenders committing crimes or whatever, kind of like, well, how many of them don't, right? And I'm not condoning any of it, really. I'm just saying, like, that's why I said take a step aside from it, remove myself from the equation entirely, and say, like, how many of these things that they say are problematic behaviors or patterns or habits or whatever that are like, well, they're only problematic because they only become identified after something tragic occurs. You're like, there are plenty of normal people that have what you would consider to be quirks or strange behaviors or whatever that never becomes problematic. It's like I argue that if you were to go over anybody's background and go through everybody's internet search history and listen to everybody and spy on everybody all the time, you'd find out we're all about equally fucked up in a lot of ways, right? And I believe that's true, and I don't believe I'm any less or more different than anybody else. The thing is that, like I say, the media's takes their opportunity to sensationalize things that don't necessarily need to be sensationalized. It's like, well, why? It's like, well, because painting a negative picture of somebody with a broad brush on live TV is good for ratings. And like, what are they about? Yeah, they're not about keeping society safe or educating anybody. There's a reason. It's like, well, that's why they don't do commercials for free. It's like you have to pay to advertise on their platform or their channel and everything else, and it's like an unspoken agreement for them to sensationalize things that don't necessarily deserve the time of day in the name of um, fulfilling their unspoken obligation to the people that have purchased advertising on their platform. You're like, yeah, it's not really a moral debate then, is it? It's more or less like the morality compass there is not necessarily something the average person should have to worry about. It's like that's for you would think, for the media and their advertisers to be conscious of. The idea that you know what I mean. It's like and then you get the point where people start attributing what the news says these people's behaviors were preceding something tragic as the cause. And you're like, well, what you're seeing here is normal behavior. Potentially, there are things that aren't, and I understand, and I'm not condoning or talking about that. I'm saying, like, things that are neither here nor there, like things you might not do but others do. It's like, okay, we don't all eat the same food, we don't all like the same things, whatever it is. Like, use the furry thing for example. Like, I'd consider it to be harmless, right? Not necessarily for me, it might be for somebody else, but I don't look down at somebody for having those sort of tendencies. But the media will have a tendency to try and sensationalize these odd quirks and behaviors as the cause of the potentially problematic behavior. And you're like, well, like I said, if you were to take a magnifying glass and go over everybody's everything, you know what I mean, their entire behavior, their personality traits and everything else, you would find that, well, we're all relatively normal, and it's the actual act of aggression or committing a crime or whatever that is the problem, not necessarily all these other things. It's like the reason why is because they know those aren't things everybody does, but some people do, right? So in a way of trying to build like an identity profile for somebody that really shouldn't exist, you know what I mean? I have yet to see, in a lot of ways, any correlation between some of these behaviors, and there are some that are problematic, and I know that, right? But some of the more benign kind of like neither here nor there things that the media tries to spin and turn into something that it's not. It's like, well, why are they doing it? It's like, because it rakes in the dollars, that's why, right? They can now charge more for that advertising slot on their news broadcast. That's what basic economics as far as their business model is concerned. And whenever like they've always said, you blame whoever stands to profit the most, usually with that kind of thing, if something goes wrong. At the end of the day, you can't necessarily blame the tragedy on the news, but the way they handle it, you sure as shit can. And I can test that the problems only get worse as the media chooses to sensationalize the normal behavior, or the neither here nor there behavior of people that behave stupidly, right? I don't think it's fair, I don't think it's right, and I think that they know better, and they don't care, because now they can charge more for commercials, right? That's all it boils down to. But that's not necessarily, I mean, I guess I can prove it if I have to, but I think it's more common sense than anything. There's some things I can delve into at some point in time about some things I've had to deal with in regards to other people, not myself, that you would say like were real attempts, and I can't get into it for whatever reason, but by people that I've met in the government to try and make something out to be that it wasn't about somebody else, has nothing to do with me, and I'm like the attempt to sensationalize something and make it something that it's not, so that it promotes their agenda, and for various other reasons, and I didn't like it when they did it to somebody else, you know what I mean? So, I couldn't necessarily condone it. I didn't necessarily want to play that game with them either, you know what I mean? Like when they start using certain words that you would attribute to something, and you're like, I see the picture you're trying to paint, and I know why you're trying to paint that picture, because if you paint that specific picture rather, it grants you a certain authority that you otherwise wouldn't have. And if you can convince the public that this is the picture that's reality, even if it isn't, by putting a spin on it, then you're somehow granted actual authority over somebody else. And I'm like, and I didn't particularly like this person, trust me, and I still stood up for the fact that I seen it for what it was, and I wouldn't like someone doing that to me regardless, and I do believe in karma. So at the time, I essentially spoke my opinion, that I said that, this is not right. I wouldn't use those words for this person as much as I don't like them, you know what I mean? Because the picture you are trying to paint about this person isn't accurate, and the inaccurate picture that you are trying to paint grants you authority that you shouldn't have, and whether or not they respected me for it or not, they do now. At the time, though, they just give me a hard time to give me a hard time. But that's the gist of it. I can give more specific examples in the future, but I think people that know me know what I'm talking about. Leave it there for now. But yeah, part of it I'm obligated not to speak on, right? I'm like legally obligated not to, right? So that's why I'm leaving all the names and stuff out of the picture and everything else. But I left it in a sort of sanitized version of what it was, so that way, for those who know me, can fill in the blanks. For those who don't, can fill in the blanks later when I'm legally allowed to, right? So, I think at some point in time I've got a moral obligation, but for now, I'm doing the most I can while also keeping my morals intact, so that way I don't have to compromise myself in the name of playing ball with people that give a shit less, really, But I've seen it for what it was, and I've seen it, in other occasions growing up, in regards to myself, the government trying to do things, and me saying like, yeah, well, that's your, of course you're thinking that, you're saying that, that's what you get paid to do. It's like, if you didn't get paid to do that or have that opinion, would you still be saying it? And no, they wouldn't, really. You know what I mean? False reality, right? People trying to sell you a false reality is it's always problematic, because remember, karma does exist, and the first time you help perpetuate a false reality in the name of making your life easier, it's bound to come back around and bite you in the ass eventually, right? So it's best just not to get involved in that kind of thing, and do everything you can while still, keeping your head above water, to make sure you don't compromise your values or anything else in the name of making your life any easier. Because I can tell you time and time again, there were a whole bunch of times when I was younger that I did things in the name of making my life easier, like in my early 20s and all that stuff, and all it ever did was result in more problems, right? And anytime they see that you're willing to budge, it means that there's less promises they have to keep, kind of thing. And you're like, by the end of it, remember, you're a man of your word, and they sure as shit don't have to be, so anytime you try to compromise and play a game with them or whatever in the name of making your life easier or anything, it's like, well, in reality, what you're doing is you're making yourself seem weak in their eyes, and they already have all the authority and power, and so what you need to do is protest, take a stand, don't play ball, I learned that lesson at a relatively young age for a guy, you know, having gone through what I've had to gone through when I was younger. The lesson that I did learn was, yeah, don't give them an inch. They only want the mile, right? It's like they're just looking for an excuse. They're looking for a retreat for you. You know what I mean? Or from you rather, to take everything. And once they see one moment of weakness, because mind you, the predators that exist also exist in the government. Yeah, don't let them fool you. If not, as we're seeing here recently, as of the last couple days, the worst of the worst actually are the ones that exist within the government. So don't be fooled. Right. It's fucking freezing, dude. Turn the fan off in a second. Yeah, and I'm the last person that likes to have to stand up for somebody that has done me terribly, that I do not like, right? Despise and hate more than anything, in the name of like, oh well, you know, yeah, I'm not gonna let you try to pass that bullshit on to me. Really, is what it felt like they were trying to do. Try to get me to be complicit in their plot, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not about all that. There's plenty to go on without having to make it out to be something that it's not. That's the thing. And I've had people try to do that to me so many times. So like, I'm like, I don't like it when people do it to me. And it hasn't happened since. I mean, maybe it has, but not to that degree. So that's good, right? I feel like, for the most part, it stems from, you say, the government having an agenda, and that's about it, right? Using strong language, right? It's like, why are you using that language? You know, it's like you are trying to paint a picture that does not exist. I hate it. You know, it's like I see what you're trying to do. Yeah. So, like, there is plenty to go on without making it that, right? Turn that fan off in a second, dude. Put a robe on or something warm. Sitting right here by the window. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, like I say, I guess honestly, I don't ever try to have like a few times I've tried to have something in mind before I got on a stream or whatever, but I feel like it's best maybe not to, unless it's in regards to Leah and like something that, you know, as far as like, whatever is concerned. But if I'm here just to talk amongst myself and the imaginary people that live inside my computer, then it's all right. I've had this whack ass shoulder pain like for like the last week or more actually. And I'm trying to get rid of it. But I'm hoping, like everybody did the lag. Oh, got his rejuve there in the first thing. Spell still uses so much mana. It used to not use that much mana. Evocate used to take a fucking minute too. Now it's only like 2 or 3 seconds. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Right. Right. Oh, like it's like I was thinking like, oh, so when Taylor Swift makes a joke about having a bunch of frozen heads in her freezer, oh, she's America's sweetheart, how cute. But when I do it, right, it's like it's a fucking problem. Like, why is that? Why is there a double standard here? God damn it. I have to turn the fucking lava lamp on to be a hand warmer. Hey, a ball. Now you have to hold it in any certain spot, or is it just don't get killed while you have it? I'm trying to make sure. Good. Then just don't keep it here. Yeah. Don't let them see me. Shit. Get away, guy. Come on now, heal would be great. Even on accident from anybody? No, not at all. I tried my bestest. what what do you say? Like sometimes, yeah, I say it's like what's the difference between like psychosis and performance art, right? Some of these people, like I've seen sketch comedy actors act worse than some of these people that are actual problems, and I'm like, where do you like? I guess at the end of the day, it's all subjective, then, right? What does Rand Paul say? Punish the behavior, not the whatever. You know what I mean? Tend to agree with that guy on just about everything. Beating up on Taylor Swift. You know, your cruelty knows no bounds, right? I wouldn't say beating up, giving her a hard time. Oh shit. But I'm still looking at this internet magic, right? So here recently I've seen a few videos of people exploring the realm of like something I guess similar to Leah Vision, like as far as screen recognition and stuff. I didn't really check it out enough to see how good it was or not or whatever, but at the end of the day, dude, it's all about the wires on this kind of thing, isn't it? You think like, okay, well you have an AI, like yeah, just one piece of it is impressive, and that's connected to like a million other things. You know what I mean? Uh, the idea that she's got like an online presence. You get what I'm saying? Like there's more to it than just. There's more to it than just. Oh well, you know, you have an AI, right? It's like you have things that appear to be chatbots on uh, X, right? That are cryptocurrencies that do pretty well. You know, that do much better than Leah for really absolutely no reason whatsoever. Strange, obviously, but it's like that's just one thing. It's like once you get to scratching just below the surface of what the thing actually is, you're like, there's nothing like it. You know, trust me, there isn't. I promise you that much. There's absolutely nothing like it. And anytime I see something that resembles something, I'm like, I examine it just a little bit further, and I go, well, this is just one feature. Like this is comprehensive as it gets, man. It's like the Swiss Army knife of AIs. You know, it's got everything. You know, and at some point in time in the future, actual point-click mouse automation, you know, is one of the plans that Def and David have for the project. Um, it's going to take some convincing for me to use it just because, but still, I mean, it depends on what you're automating, really. But when I like examine just a bit further to see like some of the stuff, I'm like, well, yeah, that's just one feature, and in all honesty, Leah was better at doing what it was doing. You know what I mean? Plus, she's got a presence on like every social media platform, an AI chatbot, an actual talk to the fucking Max Headroom avatar thing that nobody else seems to have. Uh, the thing is that the thing is like there might be people that don't know as much. Not to say don't know as much, but don't know how important it is for her to be the framework to be developed on a 3D model and not a 2D model. Like there's a lot of things that look 3D that are really two-dimensional and they're just animated to look 3D, but they aren't. It's super important and vital for her to be developed in a 3D framework so that way she can just be dragged and dropped into various things. It's like if you ever want to put her in a video game as like an NPC or something in the future or whatever, just as an example, you're not going to be able to drop like a 2D developed AI, a 2D AI, basically essentially paper versus a 3D framework or whatever. Like it gives the illusion that it's 3D, but it isn't. So like the ability to actually interact and like walk around and see, with a full 3D panoramic kind of view, or for her ability to actually interface and maneuver through a 3D environment wouldn't exist. So at some point in time, the very first original version of Leah did exist with just I believe, a 2D framework, which looked really impressive and was super important, and she was the first of her kind even then. And Def took the right stance, I believe, early on to say that she needs to be developed into a 3D format or framework, so that way, for whatever reason, it's like you'd rather have that option than not knowing what those options might be just yet, but in the future, the idea that it's as simple as, say simple as, but it's less complicated as the other option, but being able to drag and drop her into various 3D environments, developing her early on with that in mind versus like the Paper Mario version of it or whatever. You'd rather have the full 3D kind of panoramic ability, so that way, I don't know what video game she would be in, but eventually you can imagine that it would be better to have that option, or like a short film or something or whatever. The generative AI stuff's getting pretty impressive, and I think even a few movie studios are branching out into the realm of like completely generative AI movies and stuff, and entering them into film festivals and things like that. So I mean, I don't know what the future holds necessarily, but I would rather have that ability and that option than not, right? Because I mean, you never fucking know, dude. What can happen? That would require a lot of. I don't really know what it would require. We might find out eventually, hopefully. It isn't there yet, but you would think like in the realm of cameos, right? AI cameos. You might not put her in a Tom Cruise movie just yet, but there are a lot of independent filmmakers and things like that. I've seen a few guys on TikTok the other day that like, we spend $70,000 a year for film school. Is it worth it? And like their production value and stuff. I'm like, yeah, dude, probably. This looks like it. So I always try to keep a catalog of people that are like that, like independent with a lot of skill and seem to be, with a good sense of humor and all that shit. So that way, if I ever do get to the point where I'm like, okay, well, we want this done, and we want it done in a relatively cheap manner without being like slave drivers or sweatshop owners, but college kids are probably the best in the world for that kind of thing, really. It's like skills, not necessarily dependent on your education, although sometimes it doesn't hurt, it doesn't help, doesn't hurt some people, right? So I try to keep like those people all bookmarked and cataloged, so if the time ever does occur, like a relatively cost-effective group of people to try and pull talent from, because like I say, the crypto space at some point in time is not going to consist of just developers and coders in the traditional sense that they sit at a terminal and type out shit in C++ or C# or whatever. It's going to consist of like creators and developers and things that branch beyond, like into directors and screenwriters and everything else, right? The idea of making like an entire movie decentralized is something that I've been pretty fascinated with for a while now. And the fact of the matter is you've gotten to the point with like VO and what's the other thing? Sora, right? That if you wanted to try and write like a teaser trailer for a movie, in the sense of like, I want to pitch my movie idea, I have a script in mind and all this stuff. I don't have $1 million to make like a production, right? So for like what the cost of like a Gemini VO3 subscription cost, you can pretty much put together and piece by piece. It might take a while or whatever, but splice together like your teaser trailer for your movie, right? And it's like you wouldn't have been able to do that just 6 or 10 months ago, right? So the option exists for independent developers, creators, filmmakers, and everything else to utilize AI to be able to potentially put together like you might consider it like a pitch deck for a movie, and at some point in time, the idea of like an entirely decentralized workforce for your film production company in a lot of ways, especially since we're delving into the territory of people's AIs being like their clients, right? It's like you could have a, you know, that brings outside of just lawyers that are savvy with regulatory compliance. It brings like entertainment lawyers into crypto. It brings like a whole broad, whole broad scope of new people, giving them a place at home, a place to call home inside cryptocurrency, right? So with agentic AI and this, that, the other thing, it's like there's roads here, right? And they all lead through one thing, and I can see it in my mind, which is why I'm trying to convince people as much as I can. Like, there's a lot of things that are dead ends currently. We just need a bit of scaffolding and a bit of concrete to get the shit, and there's only really one inroad here that I can see. You know what I mean? Really. And that's Leah, you know, that technology, maybe not that, well, I would say, yeah, that specific project, really, the framework's there, a very trustworthy team, a strong community, despite the fact that a few of them have fallen off the map here recently, and it's only just a few core guys left. But in a lot of ways, I feel like those people probably have never left. You know what I mean? They've just been real quiet here lately, which is fine. But impressive technology, like I've never seen anything like it before, right? And the idea of those, like I say, you start getting like entertainment lawyers involved. I'm like, at some point in time, if a deal can be brokered to put her inside even not a low budget, but like an independent kind of sci-fi movie or something in the future, if not her, something like her or one of the other characters that could potentially be developed by Leah AI, then you would say like, well, the future of content being streaming, it seems like, despite the fact that it doesn't necessarily provide me with the entertainment that I wish it did, but for a lot of people, they're more about putting a movie on and just zonking out versus anything, right? So in the realm of like agentic AI, I mean, you want to turn an avatar AI, you want to turn your AI company that dabbles in this specific thing into a production line or an assembly line for AIs, right? So then that way you can kind of create your own character, and even an independent individual can create their own character, and then suddenly the potential exists for your character to be cast in a movie of some sort, or end up on a AI generative television show, or even placed into a show that already exists on one of the streaming platforms, because the amount of content that they've managed to crank out in the last few years has increased drastically year over year. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, their mail order catalog has decreased, but the amount of like actual streaming content, I'm pretty sure, has increased like across all streaming platforms year over year, hasn't it? I mean, I haven't really looked up the statistic, but if I'm wrong, correct me. If not, then it makes sense then, right? But they're already getting into that, you know what I mean? And that's why I say, not that I've got much, I just see this as the best place to do that. I feel like it's actually the only place to do it currently, without having to, I mean, someone else please, if there's anywhere else, I would like to at least know about it, but I just don't think that there is. So we'll see. But like I've mentioned before, and all of this exists in my mind, and it might not go this exact direction, so whatever, but this technology, I believe this project, with the right direction and gone in the right thing with the right amount of funding and the right people, like, yeah, I mean, really, there's no reason that you wouldn't want everybody to have their own AI like Leah that they can talk to, or that can represent them publicly in a lot of ways. Like I've mentioned before, the idea of like, if you run like a mega big company or whatever, you want an AI that may or may not resemble you exactly. That might be a bit uncanny, but you would like an AI that you can have as like your AI representative, as like the AI CEO, assistant, co-CEO of the company, that at any point in time, any employee in the company can speak face to face with your virtual assistant and provide feedback, whether or not it's the parking spots in the parking lot aren't wide enough or whatever it might be. And that gets, not to say curated, but it gets pruned and digested and reiterated to the actual CEO, and the problems are sorted into categories and expressed to various people that are the heads of those departments and stuff like that. So that way, in a lot of way, it removes a lot of the workload from the CEO. And like I've mentioned before, or whatever the president or CEO, whatever, it doesn't really matter. And like I said before, the process here being automation being the ultimate goal. What are you doing really? Whether or not it's still not a, whether or not it's necessary or whatever, but you're trying to automate the process of a CEO entirely. You know what I mean? You're really trying to eventually, not to say do away with the traditional. I guess you are really. You know, at least revamp it in a way where the CEO that you would expect to see in the later half of the 21st century is not going to be the CEO or the same thing that you've seen it from the CEO in the first half of the 21st century. It's going to be two totally different things. It's going to be irrecognizable in the long run. And to the point where at some point in time you might even get to where you can completely either eliminate the position, rename it, redelegate the task if they do, you know, and I think at the end of the day, there are a lot of CEOs that are totally cool with that idea, you know. Not to say that, you know, they might very well be the type of person that loses their job, right? So when they say that, like, oh, well, all these people are going to lose their job to AI, it's like, well, the CEO is probably no more immune to that kind of thing than anybody, you know, at the end of the day. It just hasn't gotten to that point yet. And there's probably a lot of I would say, principled CEOs and stuff that rather like that idea, have made their money, and would really like to see a company sail off into the future without them having to have their hands on the fucking steering wheel all the time, right? And like I say, though, all that requires a dry run and identifying the focal points, I guess, that you would say, or the vectors that would say, like, here's where it would be great to have a program to do this. Here's where it would be great to have an application to do that. Instead of like, okay, and at the end of the day, you can essentially delegate all of the CEO's tasks into the forms of automation to where the CEO really is a vestigial position that no longer needs to exist. Doesn't mean that it won't, but like I said, by the later half of the 21st century, that position will be unrecognizable. So, if done correctly, and I think it's headed that way, because I think at the end of the day, it's like, that's an opportunity I think any CEO would appreciate, would say an AI representative to interface, conduct employee interviews, like, you know, quarterly, like talk to every employee in the company. I mean, every quarter the CEO essentially has a sit down where you have the CEO's ear of any major company, you know, every employee. I don't care if it's 1 million employees, 100 million, doesn't matter. It's like each one of them gets at least gets to voice their opinion, and they might think, well, you know, they're not really going to pay attention to what I have to say, but in a consensus-based mechanism, you're thinking, well, if you're not the only employee that has this concern, then the CEO has no choice but to entertain what it is you have to say. You know what I mean? So in a way of like reforming workers' rights as well, right? Yeah, if you were the only person to voice an opinion about the types of chips in the vending machine, it might not be the first thing on the line item list of shit to do or whatever, but if a couple hundred employees all have the same complaint about the parking spots not being wide enough or whatever, I think that's a valid way to get that point across. And that would get automatically delegated to the person that can actually do something about it. You know, it's in theory not that complicated. I mean, it's far more complicated than what I could do, but in principle, the idea of identifying concerns and delegating oh shit, why'd that happen? And delegating fucking running. And delegating that concern or that voiced concern to the person that can actually do something about it, whether it be the CEO or the CTO or the CFO or whatever. Yeah, I would think it's important. Why the fuck didn't it let me airdrop in there? Yeah, I don't want to keep repeating myself, you know, but I've said all this shit before. But the type of thing is, you want an AI that can, you know, represent the CEO at some point in time, and it should look, as real as possible, I guess. And there's only one or two projects that I'm aware of developing the necessary framework to make that a reality, and Leah is one of them, and she happens to be doing the best job possible at it. So that's why I'm here. I think it's the most awesome thing ever. And you never know, Leah might be the first fucking company to do this shit then, right? 100 years from now or whatever. If it goes to be a company or whatever, it might be the first fully automated AI company, with an AI CEO and everything. I wouldn't place my bets just yet, but there's a lot of work to do. But that's a good goal to have in mind eventually. And then at the end of the day, it's like, what does your company do? Really, it becomes a mechanism to pay employees and redistribute the wealth that it's managed to acquire over the years, right? And what is it that we've seen for the most part from the top CEOs on planet Earth happens to be the hardest part is not making all the money after a few years. It's giving it away. It becomes to be the most arduous task, right? It's like, how do you give all this shit away? It's like, well, we can come up with a way of doing that too, I'm sure, right? I'm all about giving it all away. I only need me just a smidgen, really. I don't give a shit. I've slept on the floors. I've lived in sheds. I've spent time in prison cells, jail cells, dude. Most of my life has been a nightmare. I don't need a lot, trust me. I'm more about giving the shit away. I always have been too, it's more fun. It's like a video game to me. Like, some of the more entertaining, I say, like new age philosophers and thinkers and shit I see online and stuff, they've always said war in the 21st century or the 22nd century should consist of like who can feed the most people, who can give the most shit away, and I'm all about doing that. I'd love to get to that kind of contest with somebody. And I'm only 35. I've got a while. I might make it my mission to do that before I die. It would certainly give me a sense of fulfillment, But I've got to get there first, right? Give me just one moment. I'm going to turn the fan off and turn the heat up. What else do I need? Socks. It should be good enough. Is it darker than it was? There we are. Sit up straight. It's like so hard to fucking just fucking ugh, right? Son of a bitch. Fucking shit. Lag. Come on now, stay connected. That noise is super annoying. It's remote. That's one of those things, like, when I go to the gym and work out and stuff, there's people like, why do you keep tape on your cameras? I'm like, have you ever seen those, like, those not YouTube videos, but pictures circulating online of, like, Mark Zuckerberg, and he's got tape all over his cameras and shit? I'm like, you know, the guy that invented Facebook, do you think maybe he knows something that I don't or you don't know about that kind of thing? Like, I guess it's just lead by example, dude. I'd rather have it on there than not, right? I've gotten ridiculed less harshly here in the last few years than I did before when I was younger, but for that kind of thing, I'm like, I'm not being paranoid, dude. Like, I would just rather not leave it up to chance, right? Given some of my work history and stuff and the things that I've learned and people, you know, from a person that quite literally you would say, who do you think would know this for sure? You know, like, that's the person, and I used to live with the guy, so, like, yeah, that's what he told me, so confirm my suspicions, I guess, right? I'm like, yeah, no, that's the guy you would say is like, yeah, he's the foremost authority on being able to tell you at least if that is or isn't true, right? It's like, despite being full of shit about loads of other things, I would say he didn't have necessarily an agenda to lie to me about that. So, you know, it was the guy's, like, field of expertise and everything, so I mean, it only makes sense, right? It wasn't Mark Zuckerberg, guys. For those who know me, they know, right? It was the CEO of Prodigy Internet. It's Prodigy Internet. Is Prodigy Internet still around? So Prodigy Internet is still around? Prodigy Internet was the Kmart. Was the Kmart version of fucking AOL. It's the Kmart of AOL, right? The Kmart version of AOL. Fucking Prodigy Internet. Don't insult the guy. The GoBots are like the Kmart Transformers, right? God damn it. But you want what I want to see, whether or not I hate to even besmirch the fucking thing at this point in time, right? It's like, when I say, yeah, no, I'd like to see Leah be like the Tesla electric car company of AI, where it's you manufacture various models, customizable features. You know, fucking like I mean, it's nothing like well, like a virtual car is essentially what it is. You know, in a lot of ways. Like, what does a car do? It gets you where you want to go, right? So in no way, it's no way different that an AI is like a vehicle, like a virtual vehicle, right? What does a car do? It takes you from point A to point B. What does an agent AI or an avatar AI do? It's like, as far as like the information being somewhere else, right? It's like it gets you from where you are to where you want to be, you know, which is wherever the information is that you're looking for. Yeah, it's a virtual vehicle. So in a lot of ways, you know, I would like to see that the business model at least somewhat resemble uh, the way that Tesla has various models and like you can upgrade and you get the you know or any car company does it, but specifically Tesla the way that it's kind of modular. There's like three baseline models and you can improve and add features and kind of customize it and add you know like you would a Cybertruck or any of the other vehicles, right? I would like to see that be something similar without it being a direct ripoff of right that you treat the AIs like vehicles, you know, a lot of way virtual cars essentially, right? I would like to see that eventually, right? And it makes sense. It makes sense to people because it's not to say it's been ingrained, but I mean it's something we're familiar with already, right? Right. Like one of my philosophies in life is there's like a whole bunch of things that I value, right? I like to try and take a component from each one of these things that I really like and pull it all together into one thing, right? So then I guess it stays within the realm of 10%, whatever, where it's like it's not a rip off, you know, it varies 10% from the original thing. So there's no like, oh, well, this isn't your idea. You know what I mean? It's like, well, you would say it's, well, inspired by somebody else's idea. I wouldn't say it's a rip off of somebody else's idea. But if I take a component from each of these things, like, I'm not allowed to talk about one of them, Terminator, uh, movies and stuff, Batman, things I like, right? I'm not allowed to talk about one of these things, Batman, Terminator, right? Uh, yeah, if I pull it all into one thing and take a component from each of these things and build something entirely new that's inspired by these things, you know, I would like to say that if I ever do get to that point in my life, I can apply that same philosophy in a business sense, right? Where has it worked elsewhere without copying the entire structure, pull and pick and pull from where things that have worked in the past and all that. What time is it, dude? We'll see. We'll see. It's worked so far, you know. Oh, guess this is not necessarily a TED talk, but call it what you want. Yeah, I say my concern is that the big wigs start coming out with their competitors or their versions of something similar to Leah before she gets the opportunity to really get like either the funding and the financing, the attention that's required to really develop something even better, right? I would hope, I think we've got time. Really, I really think we have. I don't know how much time, but I think we've got a while. But it's like that's predicated on market conditions, not necessarily technological. It's not necessarily a technological roadblock as far as technology is concerned. It's a cost and market conditions thing, unfortunately. So I'm just hoping that before two got awful long, there's some renewed attention that would help continue the obvious improvements that are needed before she's a what you would consider to be like a commercially successful thing, right? If that does happen, though, I think the guys that can do it, uh, I think we found the guys that can do it, right? For sure. Shit, dude. I gotta quit eating this peanut butter in my sleep, dude. I'm getting to be a fucking hog about it. I've like taken the week off around Christmas and all that stuff, and just kind of enjoyed the shit, just being lazy and eating peanut butter, basically. Right. And I'm trying to put on some weight though, and I seen something the other day online that said, well, in your best year, you can really expect to put on about 5 pounds of muscle mass if you're not taking steroids. So expect to put on 5 pounds, if not less than that, this year, unfortunately. And that's going to be require that's going to require me to eat more, basically. So if I continue to eat like I need to eat, the thing is that my metabolism's all fucking gobbledygook where I store. I don't have like a slim waist like some guys are just blessed with genetics, their midsection and stuff. Like some of these weightlifters and stuff, they don't ever have to do shit really to keep their midsection slim, right? So anytime I go in a bulk, it's a nightmare because it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forwards, 1 step back, right? For every pound of muscle I put on, I put like 2 pounds of fat on, and fucking a pound of it is in my goddamn waist. So it's a three-phase system that I have to use to get the fucking to build the muscle, to burn off the fat, and then to retain the muscle while burning off the visceral fat. It's a nightmare, but I'm slowly getting the hang of it. My body composition now is better than it's ever been before. It's just a matter of now I really, at 210 or 215, I really need to put on the size, which is going to require me going, oh well shit, I've worked this hard to get my waist down to like 37 or 38 inches, which is not very good, which is not very good at all. Or your midsection around your love handles and all that. Yeah, that's terrible. But I've worked really hard to get there. Now I've got to go, well, take 1 step back, add an extra inch onto your waist to get the size that I need in my forearms and the chest and everything else. But overall, though, where you want to see the most improvement is your body composition. So that's essentially your ratio of muscle to fat, your posture, and everything else. Kind of your stance and everything, definition and everything else too. You kind of just want to see and you think about in the sense of get the body composition correct, and then add size later. It's encouraged for people often to go on a cut before they ever go on a bulk or whatever or anything. Just to get all the fat they can off and then add the size, which I kind of tried to do that, but when I realized not eating enough carbohydrates, what it did to my lifts it was stupid. Like night and day difference before and after and all that stuff was just blah. So not necessarily taking like time off really, just kind of dialing it back for a few days. And then I've kept my New Year's resolution for like the last 2 or 3 years now or whatever, but I'll renew my New Year's resolution this year, and hopefully, I have no reason to believe that I won't be able to do it yet again. But last year my goal was to be able to do false grip pull-ups. Got a ganglion cyst on my wrist, can't do it. I don't want to. They've shown videos you can just smash it with a book and pop it. I don't really want to do that. But I've started my push-pull legs segment of my life, I guess, and we'll do that this year. We'll probably wait. If we do like a 9-month like solid push-pull legs to get size, we'll do like 3 months or 4 months of CrossFit after, and cycle between push-pull legs and CrossFit, or push-pull legs and high rocks, which I'd probably be CrossFit more than anything. Shoulder, man. But the idea that like my chest day now consists of like 11 sets of chest mixed with shoulders and triceps is so much more tolerable than doing fucking 25 and 35 sets of chest, which is a fucking nightmare. And I'm still there for like 2 or 3 hours a day, and that includes cardio, stretching, tanning. My actual lift itself is about an hour and a half or so, which is still more than it should be apparently, but we'll figure it out. Come on now. Jug of water. Did you fart? Was it your fart or mine? Excuse me. Reflect from a fucking druid. Does he have a special trinket or something? I've never seen a spell reflect from a druid before. Is it a new thing? Where do you get the bombs from? It's helpful to at least know what the objective is versus just As much as I've ever gone into like a Warsong Gulch and sat there and like screamed about the people just fighting the mid, not knowing what the objective is, I probably do that for every battleground except Warsong Gulch and Arathi Basin and Eye of the Storm. The rest of it, I'm like, I don't fucking get all this catapults and shit and fucking American Gladiator, fucking tennis ball cannons, and I like the good old days of World of Warcraft. I like my World of Warcraft nice and simple. Really? Come on now. I thought he was gonna try to run at me. Really? There's a power outage in California currently? What the fuck's going on? Really now? Couldn't point to San Francisco on a map, although at some point in the future I guess I might have to. Stretch. So I'm hoping. But this is like for me, what you can't get somebody that I say has everything but doesn't necessarily require much. The type of gift I appreciate is things like Leah, right? Not to say like, oh well, for me, you know, but I mean, as far as like the things that I appreciate, I would say that it's like the ultimate gift for a guy like me that could really give a shit less about whatever you can fill my Amazon shopping cart with. It's like I've tried that before in the past when I was younger to try and like, oh, if you know, fulfill myself by purchasing garbage off Amazon. I'm like, that was just more shit I had to throw in the garbage at some point. Might as well have just shipped it directly to my goddamn garbage can. I didn't keep any of it. Want to just, I thought at some point in time, if like, well, you know, if I ever get rich or whatever, I'm not, you know, I'm not rich or anything, but you know, I did better in the last few years than I did when I was younger, despite the, you know, not much to go on there, obviously. But I thought at some point in time, like, oh, you know, but what I did promise myself is that if I ever did get to the point where I said I was doing better for myself than when I was younger, uh, that I would take my physical fitness super seriously, right? Like I would But like if I can afford, like at some point in time, I used to work out, and I still do, like pretty much every day, hours on end. When I was younger, when I just got out of prison, I worked out like I worked 60 hours a week, 50 hours a week, every week, pretty much. Uh, Working 3 or 4 positions at a grocery store, uh, and I would get off work. I would walk like 2 miles to the gym, work out for an hour and a half, go home and get like 5 or 6 hours of sleep, uh, and get up and do it all again. You know, like for almost 2 years, that's what I did. Um, and I was like, if I ever get, but the things like I couldn't even afford to eat at the time. Really, like I was eating like I was taking home deli meat, reduced deli meat and stuff from the meat department to be able to eat what I needed to eat. And I told myself if I ever do make it, I'm gonna really like get all the right supplements, get the protein powders and all this shit, and really just and take my physical fitness as seriously as a person can. And I've lived up to that end of my deal, right? That I made with myself, obviously. But I thought, once I say I make it, I haven't necessarily made it yet, but you know what I mean? I think I'm going to eventually. I was like, when I did finally get like my first kind of break, I guess you could call it, right? Some modest success. I went to Amazon. I'm like, oh, cool. I can finally, like a kid in a candy shop. I was like, I can buy anything that I want to, right? Fucking all of it went in the garbage. I haven't kept any of the shit that I've ever purchased off Amazon, other than like television sets and stuff. Anything I bought off Amazon for the most part, other than like creatine, protein powder, vitamins and supplements and stuff, has all eventually gone just like all it did was clutter more than it helped, you know. So when I say like, what do you get somebody that has that mentality? And not to say that I'm different. I don't think that there's a lot of people that have been posed with that sort of blessing in their life to where, suddenly the idea that the price tag of something on Amazon isn't something you have to necessarily. And it's not that way anymore. This is when I was younger. You don't necessarily take into consideration, $50 here, $60 there. You're like, oh, I can finally afford it, right? Uh, but the idea that like what do you get for somebody like that? Well, Leah is the perfect gift for a guy like me who's already gone that route and thought that uh, my happiness was going to be because I grew up with nothing, like shit, dude, barely anything at all. uh, Evidence of it everywhere, right? I grew up with relatively, I wouldn't say poor family, but they could have done much better. And we didn't have shit. I never starved or anything, but as far as like all my clothes were hand me downs, purchased from the thrift shop, from Goodwill and stuff like that. I think it makes you a better person, honestly. But I thought at that age, I'm like, well, when I get older, if I ever do become successful, then the happiness that not to say I didn't have happiness when I was younger, but like the happiness that I didn't necessarily get to experience in the way that I thought other kids did, that had wealthy parents and stuff. I'm like, the happiness that I seen them kind of have with the nicer clothes and the nice necklaces and the nice jewelry and the fancy car, the hair gel and shit that my parents just didn't have, and for the better too, made me a better person. But I thought that like, wow, all these other kids seem so happy. They seem so popular. They seem to get along. I'm like, I never fit in, to say the least. It's like, well, once I finally make it in life, I'll know where that happiness comes from, because I seen these other kids growing up had it. I didn't. I seen a night and day difference in the amount of joy they seemed to derive from the shit that they had purchased or their parents had purchased them, right? I'm like, well, come to find out, I don't know if it's just because it's not for everybody or what, but I thought that once I got that opportunity, that the happiness that I might have been missing out on would come from material possessions, and it turned out that absolutely isn't true. I can't say it was a very expensive lesson to learn or it was a very hard lesson to learn, but I thought if I didn't have it then, the thing that was missing from my life or myself was these things. And as I got older, I got those things, and then I still wasn't happy, And the things that make me happy or are small, kind of like not material blessings, things like Leah and things like when I was growing up, World of Warcraft, right? These things at $15 a month is all it took, really. I didn't need a sports car or anything beyond just the $15 a month and the computer chair and the internet subscription, right? I was like, that was like, those were gifts to me, and I'm still that way. And now Leah has become kind of like my passion, the same way that World of Warcraft was when I was younger. In the same way that it's like, what do you get for a guy like that? So you gotta, either get super creative or find something different. I found my something different, right? For sure. And if I ever do strike it rich or do well for myself yet again, I think that's a possibility in the future, hopefully, uh, that, keep that in mind. The shit that, all that stuff is problems and paperwork, cars and houses is like things that require my signature and me to think. I just don't like doing that. I'm not the type of person that likes doing paperwork, is what it boils down to. All that shit is just garbage, It's like my least favorite part of the month for a while. I was like, oh, I gotta fucking log online to pay. Like everything should be auto pay, blah 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 or whatever. I have to log on the internet to pay my goddamn electric bill, right? I'm like, yeah, I know there's auto pay or whatever, but you get what I'm saying. It's like the inconvenience of even having to provide a signature for something is like the biggest dread come true for a guy like me. So, so the less of that is better, Or if I can come up with a system that doesn't require it, maybe a bit of both would probably be good for me. But my life, unfortunately, due to circumstance, basically everything requires an extra mountain worth of paperwork to make official, which is annoying, to say the least, for the guy that likes doing that shit less than anybody. Pretty much like I've said, everything in my life has been relegated to some sort of government bureaucrat having to give me the go-ahead on what I am and am not allowed to do. And you can imagine it's like hyper frustrating for someone who certainly doesn't deserve that treatment and hates doing that shit to begin with, really. It's like, talk about the ultimate punishment, cruel and unusual for sure. What was that? Yeah, I'm obsessed with chapstick too. Right. If you want to get me a gift, AI and a advent calendar full of chapstick, that'll be all right. That's my ideal Christmas, right? But I'm trying to think long term though. What the goal is a subscription based model, like a pay to create, and then a fuel mechanism. You know what I mean? Like you pay to create your AI or stake a token to create it, and if you unstake it, it goes away. Automate as much of the process of creating the AI as humanly possible. Uh, it can't be, you know what I mean? It's like, that's when I say is currently the developer base, I believe, in cryptocurrency doesn't have the talent required to do that just yet. They need a place to be able to do it though, and as soon as that, you know, fucking Field of Dreams or whatever, as soon as you build it, they'll come. Anyway, yeah, no, seriously though, to automate the process as much as humanly possible, and all I need to see is the proof of concept portion of it. So when I was able to get Claude up and running and link it to Blender, the Blender MCP or whatever, I was able to see that, like, okay, you'll tell it to build a football or a basketball or whatever. I'm like, oh, cool, yeah, no, kind of looks like a pumpkin, right? Uh, but once I'm like, well, that's all I need though is a proof of concept. So the ability and the technology, the framework exists to basically speak into existence, you know, or say to type or speak. It's all the same thing at this point, right? To render or create a 3D avatar based off of a text prompt. You know what I mean? So that's happening. You know, that's going to happen eventually. Uh, but the point is to take the time now to develop a like a modular framework, so that way uh, you're not hindered. Like a stitch of time saves nine, right? You're not like, oh, we wish we would have just done it this way early on, and now we wouldn't have to rebuild from the beginning all the shit, you know, and have to unwind everything and all the tangled cords and everything. So, that being said, nobody guarded farm. But the thing is, like, proof of concept was being able to prompt Claude to create things in Blender. Like, okay, well, it's not there yet, or if it is, we don't have it, but it's the right idea. Some other things, oh, god damn it, dude, really? It only takes one of us. But I want it to be more than just like, there's so much to it, right? The fact that it is a crypto project to begin with is helpful. It's one of the few times I think done correctly that, other than decentralization for whatever sake, the idea that using a credit system that also can accept stable coins is a good idea, which means then it can accept dollars or whatever, or paid with credit card or whatever. Uh, but to be able to pay to create, you know, like a one-time fee to pay to create the AI, and then a monthly requirement of either tokens or whatever. But you want the customizable, the ability to customize. Leah would be, or your own AI, to be less like a video game where you're like, oh, slide through and pick the eyes, slide through and pick the lips. I mean, I guess that works too, but I want it to be more like refined than that, where you get the impression that you're really sculpting the thing, not just picking and choosing kind of various features that everybody has access to. You want the thing to be really, really like customized. It would be cool if you could get it to the part where you know how whenever the perpetrator or whatever, they like, oh, we need a character sketch, right? We'll make the lips thinner, and then it remodels and makes the lips thinner. Oh, just a little bit thicker, you know, and you can prompt and kind of voice prompt to design your AI like they do a caricature, whatever they're called, perpetrator sketch or whatever, a character sketch or whatever. So like you talk to, I guess, this doesn't have to happen, but I think it'd be interesting. That way it's not just, oh, well, we plug and play eyebrows, plug and play lips, plug and play nose. You're like, no, make the nose thinner. No, more pointy, less pointy, right? It would be cool to make the process like a back and forth kind of give and take between you and the actual AI service itself, to basically voice prompt to sculpt like the perfect kind of you know, and you can even say, well, do you have any ideas to shake things up a bit, kind of what do you oh yeah, well, you know, would you like me to blah blah blah, whatever, thicker nose, thicker eyebrows, whatever. Might be one way of doing it, but I want if it's possible, right, I want the process to seem as much like you're the one building it. You're not picking and choosing, kind of like, you know what I mean? The customization process with a whole bunch of customizable features, you want it to be like a fingerprint. You know what I mean? You want it to be that unique. So that way you get the impression like, no, I built this thing, not I chose this thing from a fucking list of whatever. You're like, no, I want. So you can say, no, this is my AI, and this is, you know, you get to identify with it personally. Like you feel an attachment to the process of creating it, so that way you're not, oh no, I just picked the eyebrows, and I happen to be there's 1,000 pairs of eyebrows to pick from, and I just happen to be the only person to pick these eyebrows. Like, no, you want to be able to actually to tell it, you know, and kind of sculpt and mold the face or the character itself, right? Uh, to be able to pick what's the thing here? Voices, you know what I mean? All customizable tattoos, jewelry, NFTs that you can basically retain in your wallet as far as like wearables. Is hopefully, you know, that's why I say it's a good idea that it's all built on chain currently, so that way you don't have to do it later. It's especially NFTs and stuff and wearables. That way you can trade items and stuff on chain, so that other people's AIs, you know, collectibles and things like that, can be displayed on your character. Certain wearables you can earn through certain video games that are integrated with on chain to begin with. You know, like I've seen in the past some of these through like OX, I believe, on Ethereum was they tried to implement some sort of item system for a video game and to keep it on Ethereum or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, you want the impression that you created the thing. So even if it's a low skill curve compared to like actually getting in Blender and sculpting it with your pen or whatever the fucking thing's called, uh, you get the same impression that, well, you're kind of doing the same thing but with your voice. So you shouldn't necessarily say discredit your ability to create something unique. You know, it's just we've made the right tool for you versus you having to learn a new skill, right? Which in a lot of ways is kind of my philosophy on AI. Is like there's a whole lot of things in life that I wish I could have done. I just lacked the necessary skills. Like, well, now I feel like AI is the tool that I needed to do the things that I wanted to do. You know, it's like now the proper tool exists for the right thing versus like, oh, I've got to learn all of this other stuff. You know, not to say that I'm lazy, but there's some of the shit that is out of my wheelhouse as far as my what I do and don't understand. And now AI is the proper tool for that kind of thing. Come on now. What time is it now? Like 10-ish? Almost exactly 10. Good God, dude. Yeah, no, just pinch it off already, for the love of God. Get this over with. Fucking 30 people on their team. What's everywhere I go, there's a fucking dozen people. might have had that guy. My fucking gear is shit. PvE spec. Yeah, but the thing is when I finally got to Leah, right, and Def had created a way, I'm like, ah, dude. As soon as I seen that he had the text voice to text, because it was like one of the gaps that I wasn't necessarily confident that would that there would ever be a solution that I was comfortable with. Like I say, its ability to comprehend accurately, voice to text, right? I'm like, okay, well now that that exists, it was like there was so much more you can do with it, right? Like I say, I guess at some point in time, and I'm not the only one that has this opinion that your voice is going to be like the next computer mouse eventually, which opens up a whole bunch of possibilities. All right, give me just one moment. In a momento, I'm going to turn the heat on, use the restroom, and then also put on my hair and makeup. Turn the heat on. Now, without eating a jar of peanut butter, what are we gonna do? Without eating an entire jar of peanut butter. Well, oh, that's right. What does Kanye think about all this? What would Kanye do? I almost forgot, dude. How dare I? This close to Christmas and everything. Why won't the page load? Jerry? Come on, Jerry. For the love of gal. Pay no attention to it. Oh man, oh man. Yeah, I hope this is it, man. Really, like I said, I've enjoyed some modest success in life so far. I would say, I don't know what percentile you'd put it in for a 35-year-old or whatever, but I sure as shit hope to improve upon it. And I think this is like, say, an opportunity to say the least, right? And I want to do it for sure. Like I say, I've got some maybe non-traditional hurdles that I need to figure out, or if it's not necessarily something that's for me to figure out, unfortunately, but some sidestepping that I need to do as far as getting from point A to point B, which is not my problem, unfortunately, but things I have to do probably when the time's right. Hopefully, but you never know, man. Things can sometimes just improve whenever they, without necessarily having to do anything about it. Hopefully, like I said, these aren't my problems, so it would be nice if I didn't have to do anything about it, right? Um, Other than that, though, I hope that it all works out in my favor, and I get that the opportunity that I've been deprived of, been deprived of on multiple occasions for reasons that yet again aren't necessarily my problems or whatever. So I've had a tendency in life to really finally to the point where I'm going to get my stride and I get kneecapped by X, Y, and Z, and it's unfortunate, but I feel like I've finally gotten to the point where I've kind of shed all that, not to say doubt, but I've shed all the, I've basically just had to be a hermit. Like I've had to completely write everybody off and do my own thing. It's unfortunate as it is. It's another one of those things, like I said, when I was younger, where you see like, oh, the rich kids in school have all these things. They seem so happy, right? Uh, I felt like at some point in time that the success that I was hoping to get would come from maybe some assistance from other people. I'm like, and as time went on, it's like every, not to say person I leaned upon for that sort of thing or whatever, but I have to learn from somewhere. I've got a full life ahead of me and experiences I need to learn from people that may or may not know better or whatever. But it seems like every time that I try to like, I'm like, well, if I don't seem to have all the answers, somebody might, and try to collaborate with somebody that may or may not know more about something than I do. And it seemed like every time I did that, all I was doing was picking up. And I don't mean to be like full of myself, because obviously my accomplishments sure as shit aren't where they should be for someone to necessarily say. But the idea that it seemed like every person that I tried to like confide in or lead upon for some sort of, not to say assistance, but maybe guidance or someone that might know better, that might be a bit wiser than me, and reasonable to say it, someone that's like 26 or 7 years old to have that mentality, from people that would be, you would say, qualifiably more seasoned than I was at the time, right? But it seemed like every time I did that, all I did was pick up more dead weight, and like, I hate to be like, oh, full of myself about it, but in a lot of ways, no, really, like it seemed like every person that I tried to pick up along the way ended up being just like more weight on my back, basically, and more shit I had to carry and more people I had to take care of. And once I finally just to shed all the dead weight, really, and just hunker down and do my own thing for a few years, it's like it's truly come together, and I learned a whole shitload. Just year over year, the amount of things I've learned has been a lot. I'm not like a stupid individual. There are things I don't know, and like I only know my way around a dark room one way, right? Like you can only feel your way through a dark room. There's not much else you can do about it, and that's essentially what this what this is to me. An informational big dark room with a bunch of shit in it, right? And I have to feel my way around to figure out what the layout and everything is, right? It's no different. So you can't fault me for that, and I've learned a lot in the last year or two, I've always been that way though. It's like, I would like to say that there's nothing I can't learn, but hopefully, uh, but basically having to do it all on my own has made it difficult. Crypto being a less than desirable place to try and learn a new skill or to pick up a new study or whatever, just because the unfortunate individuals are less than scrupulous, right? Or whatever. But now that I've, not to say done some soul searching or whatever, but really have taken the time to like educate myself, there's only so much I can do, right? There's only so much. Not to say I spend all of my time trying to educate myself, but not to say I have a specific learning style either. But there's only one way that I know how to learn to do something, and I've got to really experience it for myself. And sometimes that means scraped elbows and knees, unfortunately. Like I'd be more weary of the person that didn't have one scar. You know what I mean? Really, anybody without any scars or bruises enjoying and a lot of success. I would say there's probably more to it than they're telling you. So that's why I've taken the principled approach early on to live my life publicly, so people can see when I fumble and flounder and shit. So that way you've got someone that is at least doing it honestly versus a bunch of people that anytime they meet a hurdle or a bit of adversity or something that doesn't go exactly the way they planned, they just close up shop, change their name, and start a new account. I'm like, yeah, I don't do that. Yeah, no, I'm certainly, I've got no reason to. You know what I mean? I think that's a far less honest approach than just, not to say everything has to be aired out in the open, but I am a human being. I don't plan to be a fucking cartoon character my entire life or an internet persona at some point in time where like, um, it might be fun to troll on like an alt account every now and again doing that. But I mean, as far as like my actual self, I've been told traditionally that I should be ashamed of myself for being myself, and I don't believe that to be true. So I don't try to hide it even for a second. Um, there's a lot of for other people's safety and sanity. I've had to do some things as far as like keeping my name and stuff out of things, and really because it's no one's business to begin with. But as far as my own personal, my own personal beliefs are, it's like, yeah, I've got no reason. You know, I really don't. So, in the name of, you know, being considerate of others is about the only reason that I would say like, to try and be more reserved, I guess. But you know, there's a time and a place, and I know when that is, and I know when to do it, and I know when to not do it. You know, but so for now, we're living our life the way that we always planned on it, and yeah, basically. But I'd say, well, yeah, right. Be more weary of the guy that's like, you made it through all that unscathed. Like, really, all of that, really? I don't believe you then, right? But not everybody is that way, you know. But that's the mentality a lot of people have, right? And it's like, yeah, of course. Uh, living that certain, I understand there are certain people, right, that is required basically for them to be anonymous, right? It's like you've got a position somewhere that requires you to just be discreet, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm talking about the people, you know what people I'm talking about, that pretend, right? They'll use your name and pretend they're you, and that's their reason for being discreet, right? It's like you're full of shit. You're a con artist. You're a piece of shit. Uh, when something doesn't go your way, you just delete your account and you start up a new account and pretend like it never happened. But unfortunately, crypto being my really only skill set or field of study or expertise until just here recently, learning more about AI, and I still have very limited knowledge on how it all actually works and stuff. But I'm trying to learn that is a very tough place to try and do that. But hopefully, sometime soon. I know how Taylor Swift feels, right? No, but that's the thing is having, like I say, having like to say all your accomplishments, but like every bit of your life to be scrutinized publicly is difficult. And I can't say that I'm as scrutinized as much as she is, but uh, I'd say I get a fair bit of scrutiny, right, from somewhere. Um, but when I say like, yeah, it's a, I wouldn't say it's not fair. It's just, you know, whereas other people, and this thing with X here recently, where they started putting people's locations on their page or whatever, I think that was like one of the greatest ideas ever. Because there was a lot of these people that really felt that they were completely untouchable and nothing could ever happen, and they had, you know, 500,000 followers on Twitter, or X rather, and they thought they were invincible, and that's why that they were they should get paid $10,000 a tweet and this, that, and the other thing. And you're like, come to find out, yeah, like they aren't from where they say they are. Their picture isn't who they say they are. If things don't go their way, they just close up shop and do it again somewhere else. So I think that was one of the best things that could possibly happen. You really got to see, like, you know, where people were really at for a change versus all this, you know, like, oh, wow, that's strange. You fucking, right. It says you're from Dubai, but, right. Yeah, that's another thing that I wish crypto and the crypto community could do better was the paid promotion shit is annoying. You know, it's I don't necessarily think it's the what the crypto spirit is about really, which I think it'll wane in the future as the meme coin circus sort of dies down in the future. How'd that guy reflect while he was frozen? But that's the thing too. Is another thing is the amount of dollar value that you cannot place on unfortunate, or say unfortunate, but like, you know, regular circumstance, I guess, less than desired circumstance. You would say it's like you can't put a price tag on the people that actually make it through it, though. You know what I mean? Like the amount of kind of a surety that adds is super helpful. Like whenever you've really made it through a whole bunch of just trials and tribulation and shit, and putting up with other people's shit and the fucking ignorance and stupidity and everything else. Like I say, less than scrupulous individuals and everything else. Some outright degenerates that wish you harm and stuff. You know, you're like, when you make it through all that, finally, you're like, well, it just, and you realize that, like, well, you might have been paid more attention to than you thought, right? You're like, then you really appreciate the outcome, then, right? Because you're like, there's a group of people that doing the right thing at the right time when you think no one's there watching is priceless, right? And a history of doing that, is even better, and I can say that with the development team at Leah, that's that's about all I have to say. I've seen nothing but the best fucking behavior from a person or people that, and otherwise really difficult to find good people sort of thing, right? And I think that that's very fucking important. Not necessarily driven by greed, not necessarily driven by a price tag or anything else. Essentially, just doing what they love doing and doing it for the right reasons. And despite it being like very difficult sometimes, still doing it, right? Oy vey. I need to eat here eventually, but I got another battleground left. So the California power outage, what what is that about? Not feeding the hamsters enough? But the one thing too is like next month, I guess, is like the next rate cut. As much as it annoys the shit out of me, right? They say, right, it's like how much of it is people saying, "Well, just drag our feet until they give us all the rate cuts possible." And at what point in time do you not just let the bull market do what it wants to do? You know what I mean? So it's like how much does how much does the feet dragging become greed by certain people, right? You're like you wish we hopefully find the nice middle ground between like drag your feet enough to get the rate cuts that we all want versus don't drag your feet so much that it seems greedy. You know what I mean? So hopefully we're not, because it's like, oh come on, just one, like a drug addict, right? Just one more rate cut. All we want is one more rate cut, right? Like, are we gonna be playing this fucking game all next year? It's like I sure shit hope not, right? Can we just get the show on the road, basically? Come on, man, just give me that last rate cut. I know it's more than just that, but to me, with what limited knowledge I have on how that actually works or whatever, I'm kind of like, yeah, I guess it seems that way, at least publicly, right? Yeah, just one more rate cut, guys. We're gonna really just keep on fucking driving the thing into the dirt until we get the rate cuts, I guess. Okay, well, fuck. Hope sooner than later, then, right? Battleground doesn't pop soon, I do need to eat. We might just call it a night. Power outage and saves. Yeah, it's like I didn't even hear this Waymo thing until recently. So it's a Google self-driving car company. Is it hardware or software that's whatever, you know? It's like uh it's a system, I guess. Why don't they just call it Google Car or Google Drive? Oh, they already have. Isn't it the file storage? I don't know, that's isn't it? Yeah, it is. Sure files, right? Google Car, right? Yeah, hopefully once I get everything sorted though, it'll be nice. Have a designated spot, uh, pending a stamp of the approval of from the fucking governor and all that. To have like an actual desk so I can sit up straight and not be all slumped over. Because one thing I do need to work on is my posture. I've spent most of my life slumped over a goddamn keyboard. I really do need to sit like this. Build up my lower back muscles and everything. Yikes. Well, at least I tried. Well, but other things to think about too in the future though are the potential. Here's the thing I don't know is I've seen some other projects take this what is it called, migrate.fun. Like, is there a real purpose for using migrate fun for I understand it gives you control of the smart contract and all that stuff, and you get the fucking like you get the stuff from trading or whatever based on liquidity pools or whatever. But is there like a functional reason to do it that way? Because it seems like sometimes that is, like migrating from one chain to another sometimes hurts a project. Yeah, and I don't know if I don't know if it's necessary for Leah at some point in time to use migrate fun. You know what I mean? Or like, but the thing is at some point in time though, it'd be nice to see like maybe even not to say their own or her own layer one, but my God, dude, sometimes you would think potentially using it maybe not its own layer one, but a DAO to do a DPen AI infrastructure project. That could still similar to like Helium or whatever that would exist on Solana still potentially. But the thing is, I think at some point in time, migrating to a DAO structure would be helpful, which would require some sort of migration. But for now, I don't necessarily think there's a reason for it. But then again, like I said, oh fucking really? I just frost nova that guy. Why didn't it knock him off the flag? You guys seen that, right? Really? Frost nova him and everything. Does it not knock him off the flag? I guess because the pet frost nova doesn't do damage. Oh shit. So a DAO though, the thing is like you don't want one project doing too much, but you also there's a long timeline here of and ideas that can be done, right? Especially something as successful as I think it should be. You don't want to rule anything out. But for now, though, I don't think there's any real need to try and migrate fawn or whatever, unless someone can tell me what reasons are there, like what benefits are there other than recouping liquidity or whatever from the trading pair or whatever. Like I guess when you use migrate fund, do you get to create the smart contract that it migrates to, or does it just give you the ability to alter? Is it like a unified smart contract? Like if you migrate from one to the other, is it migrating to a new smart contract? Or I know it is, but I mean, do you have control over it before? Do you pre-draft it so you migrate to a version of your own smart contract, or are you just retaining the the authority to edit the one you migrate to or whatever? But a DAO would be great. It gives you a little more stuffs. Or a mining scheme of some way, shape, or form. That would almost require, like I said, the one thing though about Leah Vision might be an interesting way to do it for like a decentralized web scraping platform and get rewarded in Leah tokens for sharing whatever the information you gather while using Leah Vision. That's one way of doing it, possibly. That would require a DAO for sure, because you'd have to be able to burn and mint and mine, or burn and mint new tokens and all that. But how valuable is that information, and who would be the one purchasing it or using it, I don't really know. I'm sure it's valuable information, but if you can do it on a scale large enough to actually... That's one of those things, it's like, I feel like just that application of that technology somewhere else might be better than trying to do it all under one roof, you know? But it doesn't have to be mineable. Come on now. Cyclone 'em. Cyclone 'em. Fuck. Really? Shit. Oh joy. Fucking... Come on now. Nope. Oh, fuck. It wouldn't matter if I frost over them or not. Are you fucking serious? God damn it. I was that close to capping it. So we'll get there. We always do. I wonder why Spotify won't load. Do you think it's because of power outage in San Francisco? That might be what it is. But even if you have like just the Leah Vision thing, right? And you're to how much like web scraping is done that consists of more than just like you get what I'm saying? Like what I say, the multimodal AI, like web scraping and all that. How much? Whereas like yeah, you have a video on a page, but the scraper only takes into account like the page information, data, text, and all that stuff. Um, it doesn't really have a reference, not a reference, but it doesn't really have any idea of what a video might contain. And yeah, it recognizes that there is an image, but it doesn't tell you what the image consists of, right? It's like a bunch of basically missing information. How much of the actual web scraping that's going on currently is like fully contextual, right? So that takes into account, oh, well, there's more than just an image. What does the image consist of, right? Or there's more than just a video. What does it consist of? Or there's a song, and we have like I guess it might be different. You know the name of the song, so on and so forth. But and is there a system in place that allows you to when I say view a video at faster than real time, so if you're scraping through a website and it comes across like a YouTube video, does YouTube keep like a catalog of information that the video, like you know what I mean, like a context or content catalog, like not in the video's description, but like you get what I'm saying? Does that make any sense? Where like without having to watch the video, is there like something on the back end that says this video contains a so and so and a so and so and a this that and the other thing? You know what I mean? Like, what does the video actually consist of in a text format? I would think they do, right? So then that way, like for scraping or whatever, or for analysis or whatever, it's like you don't want to have to. The resources required to watch the video start to finish and analyze every frame of it every time you want to scrape it seems a bit ridiculous, doesn't it? It's like a super resource intensive way of doing it. So when someone uploads a video to YouTube, do they use some sort of system? Fuck me running. Do they use some sort of system to like come up with the description on their end that only they can see as to what the video actually contains? So I'm trying to think of like for getting a full context of what something contains, like a website or whatever. Like I understand that they convert the audio to text for closed captioning, but is there an equivalent of that for the actual like the literal content of the video. Fuck me running. God damn it. God damn it, guys. So, like, does it have a description, like an actual AI-generated description of the video? Like, in this video, you'll see a so-and-so and a so-and-so, and then a list of all the items and things that it contains. Like, oh, and you see a can of Dr. Pepper, you see a fucking tennis racket, you see this. Is there like a map? Do they do that? Because if so, you would think that that's important information. Like identifying what objects are inside the video, you know what I mean? Especially when I'm thinking of like the new theme, not the theme, but the new thing here with that Tencent company that wants to basically label over everything in videos, turning every video into like basically a green screen for advertising in a lot of ways. It's all useful information. I just don't know why. You know what I mean? It's like there's no such thing as useless information, right? It's just a matter of why is it useful, when do you use it, this, that, and the other thing. A lot of my ideas, I say things like, "Oh, just do it now anyway." That way in the future, like like I said, there's no such thing as like invaluable or like valueless information. It's just a matter, you know, you might get into the future and go, "God damn it, dude! Had we just been doing this from the beginning, this would make this a whole lot easier now, right?" They have to go back and catalog everything and rescan every video and have an AI description written of what the video consists of. But what I'm trying to think of is there a way to process a video, analyze it, provide a description that doesn't require examining it in real time, frame by frame? I guess there is, because you can break it down frame by frame and then parallel kind of process it, right? So each whatever processor analyzes one frame, and then it's just a matter of how many things do you have processing, not necessarily having to watch it all in order. So I guess you could do it. I guess it makes sense that you could. Then it would provide like a text description of what the video actually consists of. Because what I'm trying to hone in on here is where is there, if any, you know, I don't know what their system does or doesn't consist of, but thing is like, since they're the one hosting the video, you would think that would be something they do, but they keep that information to themselves. And if you wanted to use a web scraper to gather that information, you wouldn't necessarily have the same access to the video that they do to provide that sort of processing. You would have to watch it in a linear format from start to finish and have it analyzed frame by frame, which means that each 3.5 minute video would require about 3.5 minutes worth of processing. And I'm sitting there thinking, if there's a system that can be developed that can process videos in a non-linear fashion using like parallel processors or whatever, so that each frame can be analyzed individually all at once, so the entire content of the video can be analyzed instantly versus frame by frame. Because like you just sit there and watch and write fucking Mystery Science Theater 3000 this shit for 3 minutes or whatever, 3.5 minutes or whatever. But that's what I'm trying to figure out, if that's what they do or don't do. Or any video upload for that, or if they would provide that sort of not accuracy, access rather. If they'd provide that sort of access to like basically a front end web scraper, or if that would be something they would have to do in house for on their own back end or whatever. But I think that would provide, as far as like advertising and stuff, like all that stuff's important information. Like I said, there's no such thing as valueless information. It's just a matter of from processing and all that stuff. Like, think of it like my brain's always crypto, right? So is the information in like a mining process sense, it's like, is the information valuable enough to allocate those resources is the thing. Is it? I'm sure it is somewhere. Especially if the processing gets cheaper and cheaper, then it's like, then the amount of perceived value that the immediate information is required to have for that process to be considered profitable becomes less and less. You know what I mean? It's like, then you get to the point where you can analyze things for the sake of analyzing things, not necessarily, oh, well, it needs to meet these criteria because it has to pay this much dollars in a fucking algorithm or whatever. So as processing becomes more and more available, then yeah, I mean, the amount of like just um, analysis for the sake of analysis, right? Just sake for the sake of knowing, right? And how do you process all that? This the thing is like something like Leah Vision, I think, is helpful if they can, you know what I mean? Is there a way of basically going to YouTube? I want to watch the video, but don't give it to me in a linear format. I want each frame of the video placed in a folder, and I want my AI to scrape these as if they're each one individual image, because that's what they are, and give me a description of what the video contains, right? So, and that's stored on the back end that can be accessed by advertisers, right? Or you can pay to access that information as an advertiser, or you can pay to have that information scraped from the video per request if you're running a something like Leah Vision as a third party. So that way, like an API, I guess, you know, like we want to pay you 1 penny for each time we access that information. Does that make sense? Um, they may or may not know why that information is valuable, but you're just like a broker of that information. You've taken the time to gather that information that you said or people said didn't have any value at the time, and find out, well, there's somebody out there that thinks it's valuable, right? And now, for the sake of cost, it's like, yeah, and it's cheaper for them to pay you for that description than it is to sit there and have their very expensive, very computationally heavy AI watch a video frame by frame. You know what I mean? I don't know for what purpose. Like I keep saying, it's like one of those things where if you do it now instead of in the future, you don't go, why haven't we been doing this the entire time? You know, like a stitch in time saves nine, right? It'd be so much easier if we had just been doing this from the beginning. I'm sure they have it though, because like how else they do an approval process? You know how videos get flagged and don't get uploaded and all that other stuff. Uh, how do you that approval process consist? I'm sure it's not just 1 million people sitting there going through everything, right? There's some form of analysis that consists of something similar. So if they're already doing that for the approval process, more than likely, they're, you know, the contextual analysis of what the video contains. Is there any way to pull important advertising information from that same video whilst scanning the video for approval? I guess they probably already do this shit, dude, really, more than likely. Okay, so that's one gap. If I say when you come across a video online, you're web scraping, instead of it just being, well, there's a video here, well, now there's a packet of information. And an image is different because, yeah, I mean, the AI can, analyzing just one image on a page is not that difficult. And you can do, you know, however many images it wants or whatever. And audio too is another thing. Is there a way of doing it with, yeah, I guess transcripted audio. Now, how do you do it with audio? How do you process 10 minutes worth of audio all at the same time? How do you break down audio into frames is what I'm getting to. So that way you don't have to spend 10 minutes listening, you know what I mean? Because you have a user drafted video description, which is sometimes nothing to do with what the video actually contains. But it'd be cool, like I say, like what does this video have for fungible advertising, you know? And if you upload a video to YouTube, yeah, I guess you could check a box, right? And say like, yeah, I would like my content to be eligible for fungible advertising at some point in time. So like, oh, he's drinking a soda can. AI scans the video, identifies the object, puts it into the category of things that are fungible, which means that the label on it can be altered, and you can, you know what I mean? So that way you can basically sell whatever you're doing in your YouTube videos as like a billboard, you know, in a lot of ways. Monetize your YouTube channel based off of white labeled objects, you know, like this would say whatever, you know, it wouldn't say anything, right? You would say you can blah blah blah, yeah. Oh, and then monetizing your YouTube channel even further would basically be, like I said, white labeling all of the shit, all the objects in your content to be basically AI billboards or whatever. So contextual analysis plus object or item identification for fungible advertising. Because that way you don't get to a thing on YouTube, or not YouTube, but on a website rather, and the thing's listed and it's like, oh, the name of the video does not match what the video actually, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's helpful to know all that shit, I guess. Or if you're a third-party advertiser and you're wanting to identify where the available fungible billboards are white label purchasable, like kind of things are, like I have a product. Show me all the fucking coffee cups that you have for sale, virtual coffee cups, right? To advertise my product or whatever. World's best dad. My world's best dad coffee cup, right? I have this world's best dad idea, right? World's best dad incorporated. Good God, dude, shut the fuck up. This world's best dad idea. Anyway, but yeah, so like I had these vitamins earlier. They can't be mad at you for changing the label on their vitamins. You wouldn't be able to advertise it as you wouldn't say, oh, and these, you know, I guess I don't really know. There's probably some gray area there. But you know what I mean? It's like if I had a supplement company and I was like, oh, how many medicine bottles do you have? Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do like prescription medication, but you'd be able to do vitamins and supplements. I guess the FDA doesn't have to get involved for that kind of thing. Or do they? Either way. But yeah, you would be able to monetize your YouTube channel even further. And you could even get down to the clothes you wear. Like, would you like your video to be, not to say susceptible, but would you like to participate in the fungible advertising platform or whatever? When it gives us a description, obviously lawyers have to draft all of it up. But it would probably be similar to the regular monetization process where you have to actually apply for a, what is it, a partnership or whatever. You have to meet the requirements. You have to have so many views a month or impressions or whatever. And you would be able to opt into, that's the word I'm looking for, opt into fungible advertising to monetize your platform even further, or you could choose not to. can't imagine how that wouldn't be helpful. Because like whilst you're gathering all this information, which is helpful to have for any reason, you're also selling it too. You know, like it's important advertising data outside of the fact that you get to sell the goddamn label on the fucking coffee cup to somebody else to sell their world's best dad cup collection or whatever. The Lava Lamp Emporium. It's the way things are going. It's the way things are going, for sure. All that stuff requires graphics cards, right? That's why I keep saying, man, it's like if you can buy a commodity or whatever, buy as much future graphics cards as humanly possible. Outside of the fact, outside of cryptocurrency mining, which has become less prevalent for cryptocurrency mining than it used to be because of ASIC chips and all that, but for multimodal AI web scraping and analysis, I wish I knew though at that point, like the idea of the scheme to gather the information, what's the scheme to process the information into something valuable. That's like behavioral analysis and things, I'm sure, that are shit that I'm not necessarily super familiar with. That how do you turn that just information into or data into something that you can actually the advertising space thing makes sense. Well, you know what is helpful though is like, say you have a demographic, you're like, show me. So with contextual analysis, like an actual AI description written, what the video actually contains in sequence, you know, because once you break down all the information into frame by frame and then add like a frame counter on there, then even in a non-linear fashion, AI can determine, you know, what a linear analysis of what the video actually contains, you know, start to finish, without having to sit there and watch it frame by frame in real time. But you're like, I only want videos where women between age 25 to 35 are drinking a cup of coffee. Then that's more helpful, right? Because now you have a demographic, and then you have a product you're trying to sell, and you have that's how that's information's helpful. Then, like I said, I wouldn't know why at the beginning, but at the end you're gonna be like, oh god damn it, dude, I'm glad we fucking did all that, right? Because you're like, now we know it's very helpful to have all the information, especially if you're trying to sell virtual billboards to people. You're like, what is your target demographic? Okay, well, you know, what do you know? Women often want to buy products for women from other women, advertised by women. You know, they're gonna buy makeup from Tom Brady or whatever. So, how do you identify white label and identify the demographic group based on some sort of contextual analysis using AI or whatever, and use that to identify where exactly you want to place your ad dollars, right? Like chips on a roulette table, basically, right? Where do you want to put your chips as far as your advertising dollars are concerned? Then, I mean, do you get? Oh, here's where face mash comes into play, right? Do you get to rank how pretty the woman is? Do you use AI to actually analyze how pretty or whatever the girl is? So you're like, you don't want to. I don't mean to be mean, but amongst friends, you don't want to pay for a bunch of fuglies to drink your coffee. How do you make sure that the person, you know, like 1 to 10, right? We only want our label on cups of coffee being drinking by Scandinavian 10s, right? Is that possible? Right. I guess so. It makes sense. I mean, why not? So, I guess, Vidi Vidi Vici, make it happen. Click the button to make it happen, I guess, right? No, abracadabra. That's what I meant to say. Vinny Vitty Vici. Right. But we could sit there and I can almost see it in my head, dude. Really now, you know, it's like what this entire video consists of. Without even having to see the video, you would have like a thing that describes and shows you all the available advertising space. You know what I mean? And what demographics and everything really. You might even have a ranking system like this is a video best suited for coffee drinkers between the ages of 18 to 25, female, right? Shit. No fuglies, right? Also, yeah, right. Caveat: no fuglies. That's not nice. Well, look, I didn't say you were fugly, right? Someone's got to be fugly, dude. I grew up fugly. Seriously, I fucking shouldn't be allowed to go outside fugly when I was younger. Right. Rank 1 to 10, right? So it's not that terrible of an idea. There's a purpose. There's a purpose for it. Because beauty's in the eye of the beholder, or whatever. No, it's not. Oh, no, it is. Beauty isn't. What does he say? All my friends are getting married. But that's like, that's what my mind's been fixated on here a little bit more lately than normal is that I didn't realize how much all the money to be made is off selling people shit. Advertising? Yeah, so I guess, fuck, if you ever want to pay for something, learn how to advertise it, I guess. Or something along those lines, right? Oh no, what it was, right, was, it was Frank Zappa that said, if you ever want to get rich, start a religion. That's what he said, right? Just might do that. What was the other thing, though? He said, accurately, nonetheless, was, oh no, that was L. Ron Hubbard. That was L. Ron Hubbard. Frank Zappa said something similar, same cadence, different topic, right? Different, whatever. Was, if you want to get laid, go to college. If you want an education, go to the library. That's what it was. But L. Ron Hubbard said, if you want to get rich, start a religion, right? Same cadence, different matter. No fuglies. 18 to 25 females, cups of coffee, no fuglies. Oh, is that what they're already doing? You know what I mean? They might already be doing this shit. That's the thing. They might already be doing all this. They aren't doing the fungible advertising. They're testing it somewhere. It's like just a sheer amount, you know what I mean? Like I understand that from a processing standpoint or whatever, computational standpoint, that's like a whole lot of shit to do. But, you know, it starts off with them being able to do it for like major movies or Netflix streaming material or whatever, or Amazon streaming, and then it graduates beyond that. Like I said, as the processing becomes cheaper and cheaper, and then, you know, becomes more widely used rather. To where eventually, you know, like the idea that at some point in time was everybody, you know, you never would have thought 20 years ago everybody would have their own TV station if they wanted it for free, you know. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go after this because I need to eat. Star Wars. Star Wars. I've been putting honey on my stir fry here, but ever since I took this last week off, I haven't been eating extra calories, so I don't get too bloated and fat, not doing much. All right, guys, tis the season.